Our day is not over just yet.
Woohoo! USA! USA!
We have an action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for January 9th, 2025. Thank you to everyone for being here today. We have Arbitration Day, or I don't really know what to call it, so I just call it Arbitration Day, where there is a deadline for teams and players to come to an agreement. We'll talk about that for a second. The semifinals of the college football playoff is happening right now. Notre Dame and Penn State. Penn State up 10-0 in the second quarter, 1:39 left to go in the half. The starting quarterback for the Irish just went out of the game after taking a huge hit, and it does look like he somewhat may have a concussion. I don't know for sure, but that's what they're taking him out of the game for. He looks a little woozy, but we'll see if he comes back in. But right now, the backup quarterback is in for Notre Dame, and we'll see if they can do anything. They have the ball, 1:39 to go, down 10-0. I would always find, it is scary, I guess, to be a backup quarterback in a game like this and have to go in there and help your team win when you're down 10. Obviously these guys are very good at football. They're very confident in what they can do with football, but I got to imagine it's a little nerve-wracking. I have to imagine that going out there, you're like, okay, great. I don't know how much this guy has played this year, to be honest, but I can't think that it's a very comfortable feeling. But I guess, maybe it's like stepping in a radio show when someone doesn't show up when they're supposed to show up. Like Chris L.O. did not show up today. That's okay. I'm just giving him a hard time because I know that he is very apologetic for it, but he'll be here tomorrow. You know what I've learned about team travel over the last maybe 6 or 7 years, with Tony doing the Padres and Chris doing the Aztec women's basketball team? Team travel is very unpredictable. I think it's more unpredictable than family travel. It's like with a family, you're at the mercy of the commercial airline. This time, Chris was flying a charter from Reno to Laramie, Wyoming, and it was delayed because the plane was broken. So, team travel just always has something happen. So in the future, I'm definitely going to basically think that Chris is never going to show up to the show. That's where I'm going with that. All right, arbitration. Talked about it today, but if you're getting in your car after work, there is some Padres news right now today. So the Padres agreed to terms with their 5 of 6 arbitration players. Infielder Luis Arraez, $14 million. Pitcher Dylan Cease, $13.75 million. Reliever Jason Adam, $4.8 million. Pitcher Adrian Morejon, $2 million. And catcher Luis Campusano for $1 million. You may be asking who was the last person that actually did not agree to terms with the Padres. And that player would be Michael King. I guess the deadline was 10 a.m. Pacific this morning, and AJ Preller does not go to arbitration. The last time they went to arbitration, 2014, over 10 years ago. And that helps. That makes you somewhat of a fan favorite that you're a player favorite, AJ Preller, because he gives the players what they deserve. That's basically what it is. Like, I had someone ask me earlier today what arbitration is, what basically it is, because it is kind of confusing, and I will fully admit that maybe 6 years ago on this station, I thought I knew what arbitration meant, didn't know what arbitration meant, and they let me talk about arbitration like I knew what it meant for a long time, realized that wasn't it. But when you are a baseball player and you are a rookie, you start your Major League Service time. You start it right there, as soon as you make your debut. And then for the next 3 years, you have a scale that goes up incrementally. It's a fixed scale that you get paid. So it helps you get more money as you move along your career, but it's not a lot of money. It's sometimes less than $1 million. Rookies don't make more than $1 million. And then the fourth, fifth, and sixth year are arbitration. So two sides have to come up with the two sides, the player and the team, have to come up with a number, and it's up to the player to decide whether or not they think they're worth that number. Now, when I was explaining this morning, I used Corbin Burns as an example of what not to do during arbitration, because Corbin Burns, he hates the Brewers because of what they did to him in arbitration, and Josh Hader hates the Brewers because of what they did to him. And if we remember what they did to him, they basically said, hey, we need you to pitch in any situation. Will you do that? He said yes. And then when it came down to it, when it came down to give him the money that he deserves, the Brewers noted that, oh, you actually didn't have that many you didn't have that many saves, you didn't have that many save opportunities, and you pitched a lot of sixth or seventh innings. And Josh Hader was like, what? I'm sorry you guys told me you're going to take care of me. They didn't take care of him. They used his stats, and that was it. And so that's why he doesn't like the Brewers organization. And Corbin Burns doesn't like the Brewers organization for the same exact thing. They just would not give Corbin Burns the money he probably deserved. And that goes a long way with players. They remember those things. Free agents remember those things. So that's the fourth, fifth, sixth year of arbitration. And then the sixth and final year of arbitration it obviously is the last one, and then you go into the free agency. But what arbitration is, team offers the player a contract or tenders a contract to the player for X amount of money, and the player says, okay, I agree with your assessment. I will take this money. We're good to go. If the player doesn't agree, then they can go to arbitration, which is next month, and then like a judge or an intermediary looks at the case and determines what the correct salary is, and once that decision is made, then you are playing for that amount of money. And the Padres can still come to an agreement with Michael King before arbitration. It doesn't always happen because teams are usually so far apart, but the arbitration hearing is in a month, and so we'll have to hear more. But bottom line is, Michael King is not going anywhere unless the Padres decide to offload him. He is not going anywhere because he is under control by the Padres for one and final year. Now, just because, and I'm going to explain from Michael King's side probably why he doesn't think the number that the Padres offered is a good enough number for him. And we were reading earlier, the number for Michael King, the arbitration number was around $7 to $10 million. So I'll take the middle, $8.5 million. He definitely deserves more than $8.5 million. But the reason that number is being floated around is because throughout most of his career, when they crunched the numbers and when they put it through the algorithm and they spit out the salary, it's only looking at his numbers that he's had so far in his career. He's not getting all of what he did last year in this contract. So when he was with the Yankees, he didn't do a lot of starting. He did mostly relieving. And so when they're crunching the numbers and figuring out what number to offer him, they're mostly using reliever numbers, and he's going to be a starter this coming year. So I understand why Michael King would want more money, because he is obviously last year he was a Cy Young finalist, and he was very good for the team. And so if Dylan Cease is getting paid $13.75 million, which Dylan Cease and Michael King are in the same year, the last year of arbitration, they're both free agents next year. So that kind of tells you the gap that is probably there between Michael King and the Padres. Dylan Cease's $13.75 million is likely probably what Michael King should be around. But I don't know I don't know what is going to happen in regards to the final decision, whether or not he gets a lot more money or whether or not they just kind of split the middle. But if I'm Michael King and I see Dylan Cease making $13.75 million, I am thinking, hey, I'm worth that. I should hold out for that. I should try and get that. But it can also come in the form of disappointment as well, because you may learn that your team doesn't really value you as much as you once thought. And so that can, fray some nerves within an organization, which is why Corbin Burns and both Corbin Burns and Josh Hader are elsewhere right now, because they did not like what the Brewers did to them. But Michael King, as I said, he was a Cy Young finalist. He finished 7th. It was he ranked 5th in the NL with a 2.95 ERA. He had 201 strikeouts and was second on the Padres and 14th in the National League with 173 and 2/3 innings. He was incredibly important for the Padres last year, and he's going to be incredibly important for the Padres this year. And they're going to have him in uniform. It's just, when are we gonna know for sure? At least by arbitration time. I mean, Michael King is someone that the Padres absolutely have to have. They cannot afford to go away from Michael King. Now, I floated this on the show earlier, and I was saying maybe now that Michael King is not coming to the agreement with the arbitration number that the Padres gave him, is there concern for the Padres in the future that maybe they aren't going to come to terms? Maybe extending him next year, or re-signing him next year once he's a free agent, is going to be too pricey for them. So I'm not saying like they should trade Michael King. I'm strictly saying, like, if you're looking into the future in the crystal ball and you're seeing that he's going to make $25-30 million a year, is that what you want to pay Michael King? And sometimes you have to make the tough decisions and cut bait, kind of like the Juan Soto thing. Michael King right now probably brings you more value than Dylan Cease. And that's just because Michael King was far more consistent last year than Dylan Cease was. Dylan Cease definitely had his great really good points throughout the season. He threw a no-hitter. He didn't give up a hit for like 3 straight starts, but it's Michael King is someone that is more. Here's what I'm trying to say. When Michael King's on the mound, I feel very confident. When Dylan Cease is on the mound, I feel confident, but I don't feel as confident, just because I haven't seen that consistency yet. Blue Meanie, Michael King and Dylan Cease are good pitching, cheap options. Yes, they are good pitching and cheap options. I mean, yes, you will take a Dylan Cease for $13.75 million. You will take a Michael King for $13.75 million. But what is the actual number that Michael King's going to get? We do not know. On the other side, I want to tell you the one player I think is extremely important that they agreed to terms with, which they did. I'll tell you about that. We'll talk a little bit about Luis Campusano, and we will talk more about I'm on the wrong document. That's why I'm like, why is nothing happening? We're going to talk in the final segment. I have a daily gripe, and then Mark Cuban he said he revealed the reason why he sold his stake in the Dallas Mavericks, and it's an interesting answer. So we'll get into that when we get back here on the Skraby Show 97.3 The Fan.
It's Ben Higgins.
Some people do, but it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me to burn a bridge with someone because you want to save a couple $1 million. And I know I'm just saying it like it's nothing, but this is the type of money that Major League Baseball teams deal in. So some of the other players that have avoided arbitration: Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's going to make $28.5. Framber Valdez of the Astros, $18 million. Kyle Tucker is still looking, he is not, it doesn't say that he signed his arbitration with the Cubs. Luis Arraez, we talked about, $14 million for the Padres. Dylan Cease, $13.75. Zach Gallen is $13.5 million. Randy Arozarena, $11.3. And Josh Naylor, $10.9 million in arbitration. Now, you might be saying, well, why is Michael King so low? He had such a good year last year. Well, the AL Cy Young Award winner last year was Tarek Skubal. And Tarek Skubal ended up getting $10.15 million, which is crazy to me. But this is how baseball is set up, because he wins the Cy Young and he gets a pay raise, but he doesn't get a massive pay raise. $10.15 million for a guy of that caliber. And he's only in his second year of arbitration, so he has one more year to go before he even gets the free agency. So this is why, sometimes this gets a little dicey for some of these guys. Other than that, not really any names out there. Ryan Helsley, Dalton Varsho has agreed to a deal. I'm looking through to try to see if there's any. Nestor Cortez for the Brewers, Ryan Mountcastle for the Orioles, and on and on and on. Blah, 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 blah. So lots moving, lots happening here in the arbitration scene in baseball. Now, before we went to break, I said that there was one player we didn't really talk about that I think is incredibly important for the Padres, and it's incredibly important that this person was able to get back on, no drama at all, avoided arbitration, and that's Jason Adam. Jason Adam last year, I didn't know much about him, quite frankly, but when he got here, we saw exactly what he could do. And I was talking about confidence in players last segment. When Jason Adam was out there, I was very confident. When it was 7, 8, 9, it was Jason Adam, Tanner Scott, Robert Suarez. That was the best 7, 8, 9 crew possibly in baseball, but if it's not the best in baseball, it's definitely top 3. And last year, after he was traded to the Padres, Jason Adam had a 1.01 ERA, 0.79 whip over 26 2/3 innings, and this will pump him up $2.1 million. So that's how good of a year Jason Adam had last year. And I hope he has the same type of year coming up, because he was very important to them down the stretch. And as we know, Padres need pitching, and they have pitching, but they need more pitching. So that's basically it for arbitration stuff. I guess Adrian Morejon, $2 million. Tony said he really liked that. He really thought that Adrian Morejon would be a big factor this year. And then Luis Campusano for $1 million. I told Tony earlier that I was a little nervous about the catcher situation with the Padres, because they really don't have one. I mean, they do. They have Luis Campusano. They got some other guys, Ethan Salas. But Ethan Salas, I do not believe, is going to be a part of the 2025 team. I'm probably going to be wrong, but I don't believe it's going to happen. But for $1 million, and again, here I go, just throwing out millions of dollars. But $1 million for Luis Campusano, the Padres are going to give it another go this year. Hopefully, things have changed in the offseason for Luis Campusano. Hopefully, there's going to be better defense next year, maybe shorter slumps in the box next year. But they still have to find someone else. They cannot just go into the season with Luis Campusano as their basically only catcher. I'm getting a little nervous about that. I shouldn't be, because AJ Preller swung a trade for a catcher last year and it worked out really well. Kyle Higashioka. It worked out very well for him. So it's it's one of those things. as I've been saying for years and years, not years and years, months and months, I am going to be patient. And we're going to wait. Because AJ Preller does a lot of things. You're going to hear me say this ad nauseum. You're going to hate it. AJ Preller does a lot of things late in he does things late in the off season, coming into spring training. So, all right, I think I'm all talked out on the arbitration. Gotta say, talked about it all day. Happy to talk about it again, but I don't know I got anything left in this small brain of mine. But I did want to do this before we head to break, because on this day in 2007, Mr. Tony Gwynn, Mr. Padre, received a phone call getting him into the Hall of Fame. Here it is.
What you've done is worthwhile.
I didn't start
Hello?
it. There it is.
Hello, may I speak with Tony, please?
This is Tony.
Tony, this is Jack O'Connell with the Baseball Writers Association from New York City. How are you today?
I'm good.
Tony, I'm calling to tell you that the baseball writers have elected you to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
And I see this video every year, and the video makes me choke up every year. It's really funny because in the background, if you look at this video, and it's if you go to the Twitter account at Baseball Hall, they have this video up, and if you look in the background as he's getting that call, you can see Tony over his shoulder, kind of just with this big smile on his face, and it's just funny. But also, I know that people say that Tony Gwynn Sr. sounds like his son, Tony Gwynn Jr., but this right here, if I wasn't looking at the video, I would think that Tony was talking.
This is Tony.
Tony, this is Jack O'Connell with the Baseball Writers Association from New York City. How are you today?
I'm good.
Tony, I'm calling to tell you that the baseball writers have elected you to the Hall of
Oh,
Fame.
I guess he doesn't talk anymore. Well, that was a bad part to play. But anyway, everybody gets what I'm saying here. I would have definitely thought maybe that was Tony Gwynn Jr. That is a great moment. I can't even imagine, because I know that he really wanted to get into the Hall of Fame, and so he did. But if everybody should go find this video and then look over Tony Gwynn Sr.'s left shoulder as you're looking at the screen, and you'll see Tony in the background just smiling from ear to ear. You know, I never got to meet Mr. Padre. I wasn't working with Tony yet, so that's a bummer. I've said that before, but I'm happy that one of the things about Tony Gwynn Sr. that I've learned over the 7 years that I have done this with Tony is everybody has a unique story about him, how they met him, what he did during a game, things like that. It's I remember the first year that we were doing the show, and it was Tony Gwynn Sr.'s birthday. We had a whole show planned, and it ended up being we had a whole show planned. It ended up being all 4 hours of phone calls with people telling stories about him and how they met him and all these different things. And I always found those shows to be awesome, because it's not every day you get a superstar that is so down to earth and humble like Tony Gwynn Sr. was. It's just not something you see. You don't see someone who makes time as much as he did for fans. And it's a bummer I never got to meet him. But I get to meet Tony every day. I get to joke around with Tony every day, and that's good enough for me, I guess. All right, let's get to break. When we come back, we are going to talk about, Mark Cuban. Why did he sell the Dallas Mavericks, or his part of the Dallas Mavericks? It's for an interesting reason, and I'll reveal that when we get back here on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. Final segment of the Skraby Show for tonight. Thank you to everybody for joining me. I think that's my reflex now when I come back. I need to start changing it up a little bit because I feel like I say that every time. So I'm gonna try to change that up. Everybody call me out if I keep saying that all the time. Thank you for everybody who joined me. You can watch on YouTube though. You can search 97.3 The Fan. You can also watch on Facebook 97.3 The Fan. You can also watch on Twitch 97.3 The Fan. You can also watch on Twitter 97.3 The Fan SD. So there you go. College football playoff semifinal. Notre Dame, Penn State. Penn State leading 10-3. Third quarter just started. They just got out of the half. And the quarterback for Notre Dame, who had to leave the end of the first half because he possibly had a concussion. I guess he didn't because he is back in. But he did look a little woozy, so I'm not saying that they're faking it. But he did look woozy, is all I'm saying. I'm not a doctor, though. I'm not a doctor. When I played high school football, I guarantee you I had multiple concussions throughout my high school football days. I guess I'll admit my age right now, but I played high school football 1999 through 2003. Those were the days that they used to punish us with no water. Kids these days. Ha ha ha. Anyway. All right. Mark Cuban. Why? Because I found this very surprising that he sold the Dallas Mavericks last year. Found it extremely surprising because he loves the Dallas Mavericks. It was his baby. He put everything into that team. Dallas Mavericks were known as a team that you want to play for because Mark Cuban takes care of his players. And I was very surprised when he sold it for his stake in the team, $3.5 billion. But the reason that he did it is very interesting to me. And I don't know where I come out on this, but here's what he said in a video interview. I couldn't find the video, actually. But, quote, "In a social media world today, the critics of the ownership of any professional sports team can be brutal. I don't want my kids potentially feeling the pressure to walk in my spot as an owner and try to deal with that." So he basically said he gave up his stake in the Mavs so that his kids don't have to deal with all the pressure, which is a very good dad thing to do. As a father, you should protect your kids. But it's hard for me to put myself in his position because I am not Mark Cuban and I do not have billions of dollars. But it seems a little strange that that's the reason. Like, if he was to say, I gave up the Mavs because I didn't want my kids to have everything handed to them. Okay, fine. Good. But you gave up the Mavs because you didn't want your kids to get crushed on social media? I think they're big people. They can handle it, right? I'm just a little guy on the radio. Didn't think I could handle it. At times can't handle it. Sometimes, I get people that said mean things, and I can handle it. I know it's not the owner of a football or a basketball team, but still, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know if people out there have any opinions on this, but I just feel like you selling the team because you don't want your kids to feel bad after they get crushed on social media is a little strange for me. That's why. I read this morning and I said I have to talk about this because I want to hear what people have to say. I'm looking through the chat. Oh, Blue Meanie says, I don't blame him. M. McKee said, let the kids choose. Blue Meanie also said, kids are cruel. Yeah, kids are cruel, but you know what? There's also something that you can do in the world of social media if you don't want to see what people are saying about you. Just don't have it. That's simple enough. Or don't look at it. Have someone run it for you. It's very weird to me. Gonzo says, Tom Brady said he wouldn't do his roast again on Netflix because he didn't think of what the children have to deal with now on the daily. I feel like that's a completely different thing because Tom Brady was getting roasted about everything, about his ex-wife, about everything. And some of that stuff is just stuff you do not want getting back to your kids. Yeah. I remember the Tom Brady roast. I'm trying to think of the one joke. That's why I'm pausing here because there was a joke that was really bad, and I can't remember what it is. But yeah, I'm not going to criticize Tom Brady and Mark Cuban for trying to protect their children, but at the same time, you're a famous person. Things happen. I guess don't have kids. Maybe that's the other thing. Now I'm just talking crazy. I definitely am talking crazy. Katrina says, I actually like Mark Cuban more and more every day as I get to learn more about him and hear from him on Blue Sky. Oh, that's another thing. I don't have Blue Sky app. I have all the other ones except for TikTok and Blue Sky. I can't keep up, everybody. It's social media number one is not my favorite thing in the world. I don't hate it because I get to connect with all of you, but I can't do it. I can't do another one. I can't establish myself on another one. Oh yeah, Threads was the other one. I tried to use that for a little bit, but no one's really on Threads. Unfortunately, in the social media landscape, I think X has what we want now. They just have a lot of crazy opinions on X. And I know that Meta is like changing the way they do things, or Facebook for you that don't have Meta. They're changing the way they do things so that there's more community notes types things to fact check people. But, all right, I went on this weird tangent about social media and about Mark Cuban and about all of that. So I apologize to everyone out there for making you sit through that. Let's see, anything on there? Oh, Katrina says, I have a Scottish son. I indeed do. And I actually went through today and pulled some clips. So here's what Katrina's talking about. This guy was on Ben & Woods, and it was hilarious, and he shouted out the Skrabinators.
I don't need this Skrabinator. I just want my son back.
Sounds like Mel Gibson from that movie Ransom. Give me back my son! Give me back my son! You guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't need this Skrabinator. I just want my son back.
It is funny. So we'll hear some more of those drops as we go along. I never got to this the other day, and now that we have a little bit of time, I wanted to talk about some of the things that I was watching over the break, and I watched a lot over the break. I have to be honest about that. I parked myself in front of the TV for a couple days and just watched. But I'm a huge Squid Game fan. Love Squid Game, but I watched the second season of Squid Game. And although it wasn't as good as the first season of Squid Game, I still enjoyed it. And I was talking to a friend earlier today. My shoe literally just broke. My shoe literally just broke. Look at that. I'm putting it to the camera. How in the world did my shoe just break? I wasn't even doing anything. I was just sitting here. This is annoying. Hold on, gotta put back on the shoe. All right. No spoilers on the Squid Game, Gonzo. But this is what I was talking to my friend about, or my coworker about earlier. I don't know why everything has to be perfect in sequels. I don't know. And, it seems like anytime we have a sequel of anything, obviously it's not going to be as good. There usually aren't good sequels, or aren't sequels that live up to the first movie. And I think the only sequel that would be better than the first, and people may argue with me on this, Terminator 2. Terminator 1, great. Kind of boring, though. Not going to lie. Terminator 2, I think, was a lot better than Terminator 1. But anyway, what I think when I go into, these Netflix shows, I'm not trying to be overly critical. These shows are not Academy Award-winning pieces of art. They're for entertainment purposes. So I don't understand why when so many people hate this show and they go to social media for it, like if you were entertained, then who cares? I don't understand why you can't just be entertained by a show anymore. I feel like I've done a lot of get off my lawn today. I expected Chris to be on the show, so I didn't know I was going to be such an angry human being during the Gwen and Chris show. But anyway, if you enjoy the show, why not just enjoy it? Who cares if it wasn't as good? I enjoyed Squid Game 2. Did I think the storyline was as good as the first one? No, but it was fine. It was really fine. It was like I watched it all the way through. I was interested. So if you haven't seen Squid Game 2, please watch and let me know. And if you're going to complain about Squid Game 2, don't do it to me. Blue Meanie said, Gladiator 2 did not live up to Gladiator 1. That's the third person in the last 2 days that has told me that, which is very, very disappointing. I am a huge fan of the first Gladiator. That is one of the better movies I think I've ever seen in my life, is the original Gladiator. Haven't seen Gladiator 2 yet, but that's the third person that has told me in the last couple days, don't see Gladiator 2. But I will see it at some point, and I probably will love it. But I appreciate people telling me it's not as good as the first one. Let's see. Oh, M. McKee has a good one. M. McKee says, I enjoyed Top Gun Maverick, and I am diehard OG Top Gun. That's a perfect one, because I love the first movie, as M. McKee does, but the second movie I thought was amazing. I love that movie. It has the right combination of comedy and drama and thrills and flying and all of that stuff. And then I watched a documentary on how they've made Top Gun Maverick and how these pilots actually had to fly close to the ground because they needed these shots. It's pretty insane, I have to say. I love it. If you ever want to watch how that movie was made, you should, because it's pretty interesting how some of these pilots were pushed to their limits for this movie, but they got the shots. So, let's see. Dan says, are you not entertained? Yes, that is the first Gladiator. Love that. Oh, dude, Empire Strikes Back? See, with those movies, I know that they're technically sequels, but they're all tied together. So they all they're not really a sequel of a sequel of a sequel, right? I don't know. Oh, Gonzo also said James Bond. James Bond is kind of like that too, where it's like, are they really sequels? Because they all kind of base off of each other. I know, I'm just going through the comments right now because people are giving me good stuff. Good Burger 2, unfortunately not as beefy as the original from Gonzo. I've never seen Good Burger 2, but I've definitely seen Good Burger. Home of the Good Burger, can I take your order? Loved it. If you didn't see Good Burger, you have no idea what I just did. The other thing I watched that I wanted to bring up was Godzilla and Kong: The New Era. Now, you may be laughing at me right now for watching this movie, but I really enjoyed Godzilla and Kong: The New Era. I thought it was kind of funny. I feel like it's, if you're a fan of the original Godzilla movies, if you're a fan of the original Godzilla movies, you're going to like it because they kind of base the Godzilla monster off of the old movies. They kind of have similar looking shots, but I thought this movie was pretty fun. I'm not gonna hate it, but I know that other people out there probably do hate it. It's on Netflix right now. If you want to watch it, go for it. It's a good one. And then I watched some of the other sort of documentaries that they have on Netflix that are all the true crime documentaries. Oh, Kathy says Aliens was way better than Alien. I think I did see Aliens. I can't remember which one I liked better. I saw Alien for the first time last year, which is strange. But Aliens is pretty good. Jose says, "Hey Skraby, do you like anime?" Not specifically. I don't hate it, but it's not something I go look for or know about really. I know lots of people like it. But I have not really watched anime. Okay. I think I've flapped my gums enough today.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Okay, this is a weird one. All of them, I guess, are weird ones. But my Daily Gripe today is something that I've been doing lately because I've got some new like pullovers or sweatshirts, and I'm wearing one right now, and it's the Aztecs sweatshirt that Chris gave me about a month and a half ago. Number one, it doesn't have a hood, and I don't know that I've really ever wore a sweatshirt without a hood. I find it very strange that there's no hood, but it's still a very nice sweatshirt, and I'm going to wear it. Number two, here's the Daily Gripe. I keep trying to put things in the pocket, of the pouch of like a hooded sweatshirt. I keep trying to put things in there. There's no pouch on this sweatshirt, and about 4 or 5 times today, I have tried to put my phone... Excuse me, my voice is dying tonight. I try to put my phone into the pouch because I usually have a pouch there. When I'm walking the dogs, phone goes in the pouch. It's just easy. I know where it is. But I keep putting the phone in the pouch and dropping it because there's no pouch. So I have dropped my phone about 5 times today because I keep thinking I have a pocket and I don't. And that's the Daily Gripe. There's another like pullover, golf pullover I have, which, by the way, if you're a golf company and you're making a pullover, why do you not have pockets in your pullover? Golfers need pockets. This one doesn't. Do the same thing. Putting my stuff in my pocket, not there, on the ground. Boom. Not the best Daily Gripe in the world, but I don't think it's the worst Daily Gripe in the world either. All right. I think I covered everything. I think I did it all. Maybe it wasn't the best stuff in the world, but I did it. And we'll be back tomorrow. Chris is supposedly back tomorrow. We'll see if that holds true. But it's Friday. One last Skraby show. Thank you to everyone. Talk to you tomorrow.